Hi, and welcome back to the Erie Wellness Podcast. As we step into year 2, I kept finding myself thinking I still need to share why I started this podcast and what led me here with you. So, today's mini episode is going to be a little different. I wanted to sit down in a solo episode and share a little bit more about my story, about my wellness routine right now, and why I started the Erie Wellness Podcast. So I've always had an interest in health and wellness, even as a teenager. I loved reading up on magazines and doing my own research on things. I earned my CNA license back in high school and took pre-med courses back in college, go Buffs. And those early experiences really laid out the foundation for how I think about health. They showed me how important it is to take care of our well-being and how meaningful that it can be to support others in doing the same. But over time, my understanding of wellness changed and deepened. Becoming a mom, when I realized that each one of my kids has different needs, experiencing a sudden loss in our family, helping my husband get through a 13 vertebrae spinal fusion, and dealing with some of my own wellness troubles, as well as watching my grandparents and parents grow older and moving through these different seasons of life. All of that made it really clear that wellness, of course, is not just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental, as well as financial. And for those of you who are newer here, I am Lauren Brunetti, a Colorado native, which I feel like is becoming more and more rare these days. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Brandon, and we've been together for 20 years and married for 14. Crazy to say that out loud. I can't believe we've been together that long. And we've really grown up together in a lot of ways. And now we're raising our 3 kids here in Erie, which feels really special. And I love this town. If you're into personality types, I'm an Enneagram 3. So I definitely have that achiever side in me. I love setting goals and bringing ideas to life, which is a big part of how this podcast got started. My degree is in business. I started my career working in accounting for a German turbocharger company, then moved into higher education, and now I'm a lifestyle coach. I love talking about fueling your body, non toxic living, and being a good steward of your body and the environment. I'm a podcast host, and I also do some affiliate consulting as well. And one thing I absolutely love to do is travel. It's my love language. And if we can make it work, we definitely don't say no to a trip invite. One of my favorite places that we've ever been is the Amalfi Coast in Italy. It's just as beautiful as everyone says. And last fall, we got the opportunity to take the kids to Disney World and stay on property. And that really felt like a bucket list item for us. The girls were at such a fun age, old enough to walk around the parks and really experience it all. And it was so special being able to see our oldest do all the big kid rides and our youngest soaking in the characters and just completely in awe of them. So that was really fun. And this summer, I'm really excited. We are going to Banff National Park in Canada with my family. Okay, so I thought that it would be fun to do a quick little rapid fire Q&A so you can get to know me a little bit more. So my husband, who supports a lot of my wild and crazy ideas, is going to ask me the questions so that I can focus on the response.
Coffee or tea?
So tea first thing in the morning as I'm getting everyone ready and out the door, and coffee or a cold brew in the afternoon.
Morning person or night owl?
So I used to be a morning person. Like I would go to the gym before work, like 4:30, 5 a.m. In the beginning of our marriage, shower there, and then head off to work. But that was before kids, though, and life looks a little different. So I want to be more of a morning person, and I'm working on it.
Favorite ways to move your body right now?
Walking outside, very simple, especially when the weather's nice outside. And this spring, we really lucked out with great weather.
Go to quick meal as a busy parent.
Probably something simple like a protein shake or a snack plate. If you follow me on socials, you'll see that we do smoothies and snack plates a lot in our house. And a snack plate looks like meats, cheeses, veggies, fruits, cashews, pistachios, olives, and then maybe some dark chocolate on the plate as well. One of my favorite memories from last summer actually was packing up a big snack plate, throwing it in our bike trailer and heading out on a family bike ride along the Coal Creek Trail and then stopping at one of the parks just to sit and eat. And for some context, our kids are 10, almost 8, and 5 years old.
One wellness habit you're working on.
Going to bed earlier instead of starting another episode. So I love binging a good show with my husband, but I know we should probably limit ourselves to maybe 1 or 2 episodes per night a lot of the time.
Best non-negotiable beauty advice.
Always cleanse your skin at the end of the day. Removing makeup and buildup is so important. And don't skip moisturizer, especially here in Colorado because we're so dry.
One weird thing about you.
My husband would probably say it's that I like country music, but a couple other things that come to mind are I always wear the long, like, kitchen gloves when I do the dishes. It's really dry here in Colorado, and when we had little kids, I was constantly washing my hands and they were so dry. So I started wearing those, like, big kitchen gloves, which is kind of weird. Um, and another thing is I will not put my bare feet on, like, hotel room floors. I travel with flip-flops and I wear them, and, the second we unpack, I'm just getting out my flip-flops and putting them on immediately.
Favorite way to reset when life feels overwhelming.
Probably just sitting outside on my patio in the morning, praying, journaling, or going for a walk with my dog. We just got a new puppy, our rescue pup for 15 years. His name was Vinny. He passed away last September, and I thought that we would end up waiting a few years to get another dog, but I missed having my walking buddy. So last month, we added our new Basenji Maverick to the crew. So that's a little behind the scenes of me. So the main point of this whole entire mini episode really is just to get to the point too of, why does this podcast exist? What inspired me to start the podcast? So living here in Erie for 10 years, I realized that there were a lot of wellness resources that I didn't know about. And I wanted to know what made them unique, why I should choose them over someone else. And I would see comments and stuff on Facebook and social media. But one example that I have for you is I would drive past this sign, the ones that recognize like who's picking up that particular street, like for litter and things like that. And it said healthy altitudes. And some of you already know probably where I'm talking about over by the Erie Market and the gas station. And every time I drove by, I would think, I wonder what they're all about. And the funny thing is, like, I still have no idea what they do. I should probably invite them to be a guest on the podcast. But that's exactly really the point. There are these amazing people and businesses doing meaningful work in our community, and we're just driving by every day, not really realizing what's right in front of us. I too also love listening to podcasts, but most of the time the hosts and the guests are thousands of miles away. And while I'm learning from them, I probably am never going to work with them. So I kept thinking, what would it look like to have those same kind of conversations with people right here in our community? So that's kind of how the local podcast came to mind. People you can actually reach out to, people you can walk into their office. And that's really what I wanted this podcast to be, a place where you're not just learning, but you're also building real connections and knowing exactly where to go to when you're ready to take that next step in your wellness journey. And something that's really important to me is that I screen every guest who comes on the podcast. If it's not someone who what I would genuinely recommend to a family or friend, then they won't be featured. And I haven't had to do it often, but if it's just not the right fit or I get a red flag along the way, I trust that and we move in a different direction. Because at the end of the day, I want this to be a trusted space for you. I also really enjoy being the host of the podcast and giving our local guests a voice and an opportunity to share their story, what they're passionate about, what they do, what their niche is, and how people can actually work with them. It's been really special to create a platform that, in a way, feels simple and accessible to people in our community because running a podcast is a lot of work. And I hope that eventually we'll have repeat guests on the show because businesses grow, they evolve, and the wellness space is always changing too. So I think there's so much value in continuing those conversations as things develop. So, what does wellness look like for me? I'll be honest, my version of wellness does not look perfect. As a wife and a mom of 3 younger kids, with full days and busy schedules, wellness has to fit into real life for me. And we still leave room for the fun things too. I'm all about balance here. You won't see me skipping out on ice cream at Sweets or passing up a gin and tonic with extra lime, or a chilled Sauv Blanc at Birdhouse with some chips and guac. And honestly, a big part of that is because I want to be a good example for my girls. I don't want them to grow up seeing their mom being overly restrictive or stressed around food. I want them to see what a healthy, balanced approach looks like, where you can take care of yourself, but you can also enjoy life too. And that comes with work. It's been a practice, but taking time to step away, scheduling activities or not scheduling activities, it's really a balance overall. And honestly, this podcast has really been really good for me too. And I hope it's been that way for you as well. There have been so many moments where I thought, oh, I wish I would have known that earlier, like during the breastfeeding stage, for example. And then there's also the ones that are current in my life where I'm like, when I was learning from new parent law and we were talking about estate planning, and I was thinking, we haven't really looked at our legal documents since our very first child was born. That's probably something that we should revisit. So it's not just about learning something new. It's also about being reminded of the things that matter and taking action when the time feels right. But there's also something too that I've learned through all of these conversations that I've had on the podcast. And that's kind of how the Erie Wellness truth kind of came to mind. But it's really my Erie Wellness truth for this particular podcast episode is that everyone is so unique and we all have different things going on. What works for one person may not work for you, and that's okay. And even with this podcast, one episode or guest might resonate with you, and then the other maybe not. And that's okay too. It's also really easy to look at social media or even our friends and family and think if they're doing it, then I should probably be doing it too. And you can absolutely use them for inspiration. But if you try something and it doesn't feel right, or if it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that it's not your thing. And the truth is, everybody's body is different. Wellness isn't a one size fits all, and it's something that each one of us get to personalize. So you don't need to beat yourself up or think you lack discipline. So as we step into this new year together, let's keep showing up, let's keep learning, and let's keep having these honest conversations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, sharing, and being a part of this community. And if this podcast has ever helped you feel more connected, if it helped you discover a new local resource or take a step towards your health, I'd love for you to share it with someone here in our community. It helps the podcast grow. It helps support the local businesses that we feature. So here's to year 2 of the Erie Wellness Podcast and continuing this journey together. All right, friends, before we wrap up, here's the part I need to share. This podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. I'm just your friend behind the mic. Nothing shared on this podcast creates a patient relationship with any of our guests or replaces the guidance of your physician, professional coach, or other qualified expert. And the views shared by guests are entirely their own and don't necessarily reflect the beliefs or values of the Erie Wellness Podcast. My goal is to simply create a space for real, open conversations that help us all learn, grow, and feel a little more connected on our wellness journeys. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you back here next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Erie Wellness Podcast. If something from this conversation resonated with you, I hope you'll take it with you into your week or share it with someone in our community who might need it. To subscribe, just head to the main page for the Erie Wellness Podcast, right where you're listening, and tap subscribe. And don't forget, when you start to feel better, you start showing up better in all areas of your life, and you deserve that.